Hey, good evening. Welcome back to my little gardening show. Out on the back deck tonight. We pulled most of the onions this past week, let them dry out a little bit after trimming them for a few days on this back table. What I'm doing tonight is going ahead and processing the majority of them and then putting them in the FoodSaver bags. Putting about 3 to 4 cups of onions, enough that we would use for like crock-pot fajitas or Salisbury steak or pizza, whatnot. Getting them in those portions, putting them in the FoodSaver bags, vacuum packing them, and then throwing them in the freezer. And then we should have, onions for most of the rest of this year, really. So I'm on kind of the last batch that I'm doing tonight. I thought I would take you along, just kind of show you the method of my madness, show you kind of my mess right now as it stands, and then really show you some tips with this FoodSaver machine that I got that I've been getting better at using. So let's get started. So first things first, when processing the onions, if you're going to do this in like a large scale, it's better to do it outside if possible, because they're pretty pungent, and the vapor that's in the air can make things real uncomfortable for those that really can't stand the smell of onions. It can make their eyes water and all that. So I've got all this set up outside. First step was to, I didn't even bother washing it. We just got the cutting board. I cut off both ends and then cut it in half and then stood it upright on a clean portion of the board. After I got about 9 of those done, I peeled the outer layer off both halves and then threw it in a bowl. Once I had a bowl full, I took that in the house, rinsed them, see if there was any dirt on any of it from maybe, getting on a portion of the board that had some dirt or some wrapper. Get the halves washed. Then ran them through the food processor with the thick blade, just to slice them. And the end result was a huge heaping bowl. This is my 3rd bowl of onions, and this isn't even full like the other 2 were. But some pre-sliced onions. And then what I'm doing is making bags with my FoodSaver. So right now what I've done is these bags, you can buy like a roll of them, and there's generic versions. I went ahead and just got these at Walmart. Start at this bottom line, you put your roll in, and then you can lift this up or basically just flip this whole thing over, and you can pull it through, so that basically you want to pull it through so the bag's on that line, the start of your bag. You can throw this down, and then, so let's just start from scratch, like as if we got the roll, and we're going to cut that off. So we feed the bag through, so it's pretty much to the white line. It's close enough. It's on. I'm just gonna flip this down. That's going to activate the seal down here. It doesn't take too long. Okay, so the button's off. You just unlock it. You can flip this up and then lift this up a little bit. I don't know if you can see that seal. It's sealed all the way across now. So now I just pull this out. There's a line right there. I'm on the line there. We want to go one more. I want to go 3. Let's make sure both those little lines are on the white line. Throw this back down. Since it's already sealed, we're going to cut another bag. So run the slicer over it. There you go. You can adjust how big, how small you want the bags. Now that that's prepped, I'm going to go ahead and lock it down again. The seal's going. Done. Unlock it. Flip it up. I've got a seal now. I can pull it out to another 3 down. It's about on the white line. Pull it back down, run it the other way. Got another quart size bag. pretty simple. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish filling this bag with onions, and I'm going to show you how I've been sealing this. Kind of the mistake I was making with it early on was when I would fit the bag underneath the vacuum sealer there and then push both sides of the little metal bar to get it to start. It would suck air for you know, a predetermined amount of time. You know, I don't know how it senses when to stop, but maybe suction gets to the point where it's just a predetermined set amount of time. But anyway, just allowing it to do its thing, and then it would go into sealing mode where it would seal. But the problem with that is that depending on what you're doing, like onions, if you let it go to the default setting where it just keeps sucking and sucking, it starts squeezing and brings fluid up, and then you have a hard time getting a seal, you know, and sometimes you have to redo it, you know, another time or even 3 times, depending on how much liquid is caught in there that hasn't sealed through. So what I realized is that I could stop that vacuuming at any point. So what I do is I just stick the bag in, if it's something like onions here, let it go for about 10 seconds until pretty much all the air's sucked out, but before it really starts squeezing down on the onions to draw fluid out of them, you know, squeezing the juices out of them. Wait till it's right at that point, and I hit the seal button and it goes into seal mode and stops vacuuming at that point. Locks it down, and I'm getting pretty much probably just about as good of a vacuum pack as if I were to just leave it and let it suck the heck out of, you know, the bag of onions, right? So it's making it things faster, and it's I'm getting a seal in the first time, and it's all good. So we'll go ahead and do one of those so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna grab our onions here. I'm using a canning funnel just to help me get the onions in the bag. I'm just using a pair of tongs to grab a big chunk, throw it down in the funnel here. And this bag was already partially full. We just add a little bit more. So there we got a large onion worth, or maybe 2 medium onions. So I'll lift the bar here. Throw it in, hit the sides. Right there at that point, it's got the air out. It's not quite clamped, like squeezing on it super hard yet. I went ahead and hit that seal button. And there, with a perfect seal across that bag. So that's all good. Let's do one more. So grab another bag that I just made. Grab my canning funnel. My tongs. That's a fair amount of onions. Tamp it down. The other thing too is that one side of the bags, at least on the FoodSaver bags, is kind of textured. The other side's clear. What I try to do is keep the textured side down, so that way if it does suck liquid, it's having to work its way through kind of that honeycomb texture and not just streak straight up the smooth part. Lift the bar, throw it in, push the sides of this bar. I waited just a little too long. There's liquid that's starting to streak up. If it's still bubbling, I might have to do that again. Yeah, so it did not get a good seal because of that liquid. So while it's still pretty well compressed, I'll throw that in again. Hit that seal button right away. Now that time, I did get a seal. It's sealed all the way across. So we're good on that. So anyway, like I said, that's helped me out a little bit. I thought I'd share those tips real quick on this FoodSaver. Really enjoying it so far. The next step is I think there's some cheaper bags that I can get online for like $9. You get like 100 bags to do other things. You know, like we did some meat last weekend where there was a big sale on ground beef, and basically put up about 6 or 8 pounds of it. You know, and that worked out really well. So what I like about it is once those bags are sealed, you don't smell it and stuff. Whereas like the Ziploc bags, freezer bags that we were using before, especially for onions, we'd seal them, put it in the freezer, and the freezer would just smell like onions. Whereas with these being airtight, no issues whatsoever, and it should last a lot longer too. We shouldn't have the freezer burn that we've had in prior years. The only risk with doing stuff this way really is if the freezer were to go out or something, we didn't know it, then potentially we could lose food in there, whatnot. But other than that, looking forward to putting more stuff up like this and kind of go from there. So the next big thing we'll be doing with onions is making salsa. So what I did too is I had another batch of onions that were where I peeled them and cut them in half, and went ahead and made a custom sized bag that's probably like a 3-quart bag or whatever, and put a bunch of halves in it and sealed it up tight, and we've got them in the refrigerator so that when the tomatoes come in here in a couple weeks, when they start really coming in, I'll have those ready to go to make my salsa. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. That's it for now. Until next time, happy gardening. Bye.